Let's get started. What the hell is on my shoulder? Looks like a tattoo of the Iron Giant. Why don't the rest of you have it? The rest of us dress modestly. Oh, I got it too, Shat. Most of us. Let's focus here, please. There's been some tragedy in the news. When is there not? This one is big. The Queen died. Beyonce? Dolly? Stacey Abrams? Freddie Mercury? Nah, he don't bend it. Oh, right. Betty White? You know what? No, the Queen of England. Okay. Oh, that's fine. Oh. I was worried. Wow, really classy, guys. You could at least pretend to care. Why should we? She ruled for over 70 years. And the last time any of us cared about an English monarch, Wait, Massachusetts, did you? Wasn't me. Although I do appreciate you thinking it was something I would do. Because it is. Can we try to show a little sympathy here? What was that? I can't hear you over the cheers of the Irish. When did she die? This past Thursday. The Queen of England died on the first day of football season. Can't get much more American than that. You're all terrible people.
Tucker Carlson went full mask off here.
How, for example, did Africa fare after the British left? Let's see. Uganda got Idi Amin, who was a cannibal. Rhodesia became Zimbabwe and then became the poorest country on the planet under the racist lunatic Robert Mugabe. As of tonight, South Africa is still being run into the ground by an incompetent kleptocrat called Cyril Ramaphosa. So it's hard to see any of that as an improvement because it's not an improvement.
Let's go one at a time. Yes, Idi Amin was a ruthless dictator, whose rise to power was facilitated by the British colonial authorities. Mugabe did have many problems and Zimbabwe has struggled economically. Although, isn't it quite interesting that Carlson labeled Mugabe a racist without mentioning that in Rhodesia, the state which preceded Zimbabwe, had 15 years of deeply racist white minority rule. And then he mentioned South Africa, which yes is still struggling, but much of that stems from the legacy of apartheid. It's almost like recovering from colonialism doesn't happen overnight.
Sorry about that. My mouse stopped working for a minute, so I couldn't get us clicked over. But just to add on to that, coming from BBC News, Tucker Carlson, anger after Fox News host says British civilized India. Tucker Carlson from Fox News Channel claimed that India had not produced any architectural marvels after British rule ended. The anchor made the statement during a show on Queen Elizabeth II, who died last week, aged 96. His comments have been criticized as racist and uninformed by politicians, commentators, and social media users. They came at a time when the Queen's death was revived has revived a sensitive debate about the empire's colonial past. In recent days, a number of prominent writers and academians across the world, including in India, have criticized the British monarchy, which they say is yet to reckon with the indignities and brutality of the empire. Mr. Carlson sought to debunk this argument on his show last week when he claimed that the British Empire was more than just genocide. Strong countries dominate weak countries. This trend hasn't changed, he said in a clip that has since gone viral on Twitter. The anchor added that unlike the US, the English took their colonial responsibilities seriously and ruled the world with decency unmatched by any empire in human history. When the British pulled out of India, they left behind an entire civilization, a language, a legal system, schools, churches, and public buildings, all of which are still in use today, he said. The anchor then tried to defend his position by giving an example of Victoria Terminus Station, a sprawling Victorian structure of yellow sandstone, granite, and blue gray basalt in what was then the city of Bombay, now Mumbai, which was built by the British in 1887 and renamed in 2016. After 75 years of independence, has India produced a single building as beautiful as the Bombay train station the British colonists built? No, sadly, it has not one.
Let me just clean my computer off of that shit. Hold on.
So I guess we're still going to keep going with the falsehood that philosophy, theology, mathematics, down to the basics of just paper came from white people because they did not. Mythology did not even originate with the British. The only thing that originated with the British was bad teeth, bad accents, and plagues. Yes,
Well,
Doctor.
I'm just raising my hand because I didn't know if you still have more, so I want to raise my hand. So, no offense to you, sir, but all the smoke as of right now. Um, I think you're forgetting the Taj Mahal that was built before England ever even decided to come there, which is stated as one of the what? One of the seven wonders of the world. Did you miss that? Did you forget? Because that's a beautiful building that was built for a tomb for the sheik's dead wife. I don't know if you missed it.
Mhm.
I don't see that, quote unquote, what was that station in Mumbai. I don't see that as one of the seven wonders of the world. It's not even listed.
It is a beautiful structure. Do not get me wrong, but you can go anywhere in the world, and something that is meant to be daily functional can be aesthetically pleasing. That does not mean that it is something great. And do you know? Now, see, this is why I say racists know that they are inferior. Because when you have to stretch to say that a train station was the best thing built in an entire country, a train station, not a piece of art, not some great scientific discovery. A train st- We just opened a new bus depot not far from me, and because Commonwealth, small city, yes, they did have a big party and celebration for it. Okay, we don't have much to do around here. Judge us all you want. I did not go because I'm black. Okay, I didn't go.
She
But
said bus
yeah, it's
depot. I
cute.
knew
They
it.
put pictures in the newspaper all over all these uh newsletters that we got. Would I say that is the best thing architecturally within the United States that it was just so critical and pivotal. No, it's cute. It's a bus depot. Whoop-de freaking do.
Okay, let's not even forget. Okay, let's even take it. Let's even take it a bit further, just a teensy bit. We can count the pyramids. We can count the structures in Mexico. We can count the structures. Honestly, any brown country you want to take it, they still have not figured out how they worked. Okay, look at the temples in India. Since we're talking about India, look at the temples in India. The carvation that has gone into that stone. They have not been able to replicate it. Mr. Carlson?
And part of the reason why they're having a hard time understanding how such structures were created and designed and have stood the test of time is because they still do not see Black and brown people as intelligent and human. Because the basis of a pulley system, if you take it down to its bare bone basis, you could do these things. And sorry, not sorry, raw materials, true, unpolluted raw materials are going to sustain because they're built for the climate. And craftsmanship was way better because we weren't relying on machines that are fallible and cannot quality check as it's being produced.
Why do you think most of the statues, even in Greece, I'm going to say Greece, why do you think most of those statues still look like how they look from back then to now, with a few minor adjustments? I'm not going to say there hasn't been minor adjustments.
Black people ain't took crowbars to them yet. But we have another anchor, using this word very loosely, that dropped their mask as well. Let's see what he thinks about new marketing campaigns.
Watch any TV commercials lately?
Look at this, though. See somebody step this game up, huh?
Game over.
Made for grand entrances. The all-new Tundra.
First team approach and check-in. Hi, checking in?
Yep, it's me, Megan Thee Stallion.
You can get all sorts of things delivered from the neighborhood.
The neighborhood?
All from the people in your neighborhood. The people that you meet when you're walking down the street.
Hey, it's totally cute. I liked all those commercials. But what happened to all the white people? Where are the white actors? Now, we are in a position that being white is now a liability in certain fields, certainly in the arts and others. So George Floyd, something horrible happens to him. But people who had nothing to do with it are now not finding themselves cast in certain roles or being asked to do jobs that they are very good in, or perhaps continue in jobs that they already have. So what do?
We are done watching them die. We are no longer bystanders. We will not be idle. Enough is enough.
They look like they did that. Were they forced to do that? I'm never going to be in a video like that. I don't want to see anybody die, but I'm never going to be in a video like that. And this person, this is actress Piper Biabo, something like that. So she said she's not going to be idle. Well, she's still making the same old crummy movies and TV shows. I don't see anything there about racial justice. I don't know. Look, I think it was just words, a silly stunt. Look how righteous we are. And that actually works in Hollywood. That works that works with Democrats and in the mainstream media. And this does too. Ducks playing dead. Take a look. See? Watch this. That duck is alive. There he goes. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I feel like they are, we're not going to offend anybody. We just don't pick on us for now. Being submissive, then the threat goes away. They still retain their power. Regular people don't act like this. Regular people, regular Americans fight. They stand up. They are not going to be bullied, especially at work. Take a look at these heroes. They look like they did that? Were they forced to do that? I'm never going to be in a video like that. I don't want to see anybody die, but I'm never going to be in a video like that. But what happened to all the white people? Where are the white actors?
Can I say something before you do, if possible? Sir, I don't know if you know, maybe you don't. And that's where I'm going to take this. But you can shove that microphone where the sun does not shine. Nobody asked for your opinion. Nobody wanted your opinion. Your opinion does not matter from here to Timbuktu. If they had replaced the car or the people with different people, the commercial still would have worked. I don't understand where you're trying to take this, but keep your racism to yourself. Nobody asked you. And the next time I see you in the streets, you better hope I don't have a hammer in my hand. Go ahead, I'm done.
It is amazing that people have a hard time accepting that non-white people are qualified for positions, that we are talented. This gives me the same anger and fervor that I get when I hear Black people claim that a successful Black person is in the Illuminati, because they don't realize all you're doing is diminishing and erasing the hard work and the talent that somebody put in there. These people did not get these jobs or these roles that they are good at because George Floyd died.
Sure enough didn't.
Also, sitting there talking about where are the white people? Everywhere. In everybody's business, on everybody's screen, 24 hours a day, 7 damn days a week.
Ain't nobody missing them.
And it's like you have a problem with the demographic that contributes to the economy the most being represented. Because if we stop spending our money, you know how many industries would shut down and how many people would be out of work.
Girl, that's okay. So let's simplify it for them. Let's simplify it. Imagine if every Black person, every black and brown person, let's call it let's call a spade. Every person of color honestly started growing their own vegetables, raising their own animals. In a small little, or just growing their own vegetables. Maybe not even raising their animals, just growing their own vegetables. Can you imagine the collapse of every supermarket chain?
We wouldn't even have to go that far because we have Black-owned supermarkets and stuff like that. If we all just decided we were not going to go to non-Black or brown-owned restaurants, we would spiral this country into another depression. And that's just one industry.
That's not talking about gaming, movies.
If we pull our money out of clothing, entertainment opportunity, they wouldn't sustain. But you have a problem with us being represented. Let us not forget what happened last year when we said, you know what, y'all want a trending dance? Make it yourself. There were apps whose stocks were going down. Their viewership was going down. People were not joining the apps as much. People were leaving apps.
Girl, I'm telling you, I felt bad for Meg. I did. I felt so bad. But she
enjoyed it.
She sat back and was like, I'm not doing nothing either. Don't even ask.
She came out with the video with that choreography that she knew them white folks couldn't handle.
She said, nope. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Girl, now, before we crisscross back across the pond, because we got quite a few things to discuss over there.
Oh, Lord, what's happened now?
Here is, for y'all still with your panties and your boxes in a bunch over the Little Mermaid, take a gander at this.
Today I woke up and chose masochism, so we're gonna talk about... That's right. And I'm gonna argue that she was always meant to look like this. The book starts with far out into the ocean, and that should already be enough. Denmark is bordered by 2 seas, not the ocean. Let's proceed. Presently, they came in sight of land, and she saw lofty blue mountains. Mountains, you say? But there are no mountains in Denmark. Mountains? No mountains. Okay, you get the point. Who does have mountains? And is in the ocean. Was still quite Danish when Henderson wrote The Little Mermaid. Danish West Indies, or the Danish colonies in the Caribbean. To further prove this point, the prince had slaves. Slaves, but Henderson was born in 1805, and Denmark had already abolished slavery. Well, not in the West Indies. Abolished it at home, so they wouldn't have to witness their atrocities. Definitively abolished slavery in their West Indies in 1848. And did Anderson write The Little Mermaid? 1836. Anderson was born in a Denmark that had no slaves except for the West Indies. Still about 10 years away from abolishing it there too. The Danish West Indies were later on purchased by the United States. Are currently known as the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I do believe we can definitively say that The Little Mermaid is set in the Danish West Indies. For in the Caribbean, regarding the fact that mermaids are fictitious. If it were a woman with the tail of a fish from the Caribbean, what do you think she would look like? This ain't it. This is it. Caribbean queen. The way she was always meant to be. Slay.
And I had to show you because everybody wants to use history and science to try to say this shouldn't be this shouldn't be that. First of all, the Hans Christian Andersen version is public domain. Notice that I said version. Disney never uses originating versions of anything. They literally create their own storylines and their own characters for every movie that they put out. Is there inspiration behind it? Yes, admittedly. None of the inspiration comes for the originating source. It is not canon. These are not comic books. There is nothing canon to Disney outside of Mickey and Minnie. Period. And y'all were okay with a blue-eyed, red-headed mermaid that was originally supposed to be blonde hair, but because the movie Mermaid came out during the same time, Slash, about a mermaid, they made her hair red to distinguish her from Daryl Hannah. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why her hair is red. Number one. Number two, Ariel is its own distinct character. Period. Ariel does not exist in the book.
It's literally just says mermaid. That's
3. And most importantly, can you fuck twat waffles stop acting as if red hair is a race of its own? Talking about, well, what about ginger representation? Bitch, gingers can be any ethnicity, any race. You are not denigrated because you have fucking red hair. If I dye my hair red tomorrow, I lose nothing. I get zero criticism. Nothing. And y'all don't even want the hair of what an actual ginger looks like on any ethnicity. You want some Kool-Aid dyed bullshit. Yeah. It's not realistic. It's a fucking cartoon, Marsha.
I'm like, what are you? What is? And see, here's where I have a problem, and I really want people to understand. You want to exist in these particular standards because you think that anything that does not look like this is bad, and the fact that Black people are now getting roles where they can be portrayed as beautiful and not the crackhead, the hooker, the stupid best friend, or anything else, y'all are mad. But see, let me just be clear with you. As we had said before, be very mindful. If we ever collectively decide to stop doing anything, this country would literally fall into the dust.
Well, here's the thing. They keep claiming it's white erasure as if that's a thing. Here's the problem that racists have with white characters being replaced. Well, correct adaptations being made.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's because they have no culture. So when you take a white character and replace it with a person of color or someone from the BIPOC community, the story can continue as is.
That's
You cannot alter a single BIPOC character with a white person, and the story can continue as is because they have no culture to bring. Nothing changes, nothing alters. Their only culture is theft.
I'm just like, here's the thing. I'm just like, okay. I can't even make an. Now, I don't know if you're going to agree or disagree. I don't know. I really don't. But we'll see where this lands. Now, the only honest Disney character I could honestly say could the story honestly couldn't continue. I can't be honestly sure. Would be most likely Snow White. But you can argue me if they can't. I don't know. I'm just saying. I can give them that one.
Snow White could continue with an albino of any ethnicity. And technically, an albino fits the description of Snow White better than anyone else.
True. Yeah, there you go.
Because when you read the description and even how they play it up, even in Disney's adaptation, the only people that would fit that description, have that type of skin tone, are albinos.
What about the hair?
Albino.
Normally their hair is it normally from what I've seen. I can't say I've seen them all, but normally their hairs are generally light though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I also have an albino cousin that heavily dyes her hair.
Okay, again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm here for correction. I will eat my humble pie every time.
And the thing about it is, the story could still go on, because even if you take Snow White and make it, say, just for shits and giggles, an all-black cast, Snow White would just be the fair skinned of the family, which happens a lot.
True.
You could have a whole family of dark-skinned people, and there'll be one very, very pale-skinned son or daughter.
Very true.
So it could still go. Or you could use anyone from the Asian diaspora, because there is the anomaly of, so it could still work. Now, white people, but over across the pond, things are not going so smoothly.
Oh no.
But when you have a bratty king now, shit's gonna get fucked up. Take a look at this.
Are they not feeding them over there?
If you notice, No one gasped. No one. They propped him up to finish the procession of sorts and then walked him over. That's dehydration. Excuse me, that's dehydration. So they're not rotating them out to give them water, at least. And even if you noticed, when everybody was rushing over, no one brought any water. But my biggest concern, and what really took me aback, is that he fell face first, didn't even put his hands out. So that means he was out. Like he was standing there for a minute trying to keep it together and hold it. I've been in that position where you feel yourself starting to get dizzy. You try to concentrate to stay conscious, and then it just hits you and you're out. But no one gasped.
Like I said, are they not feeding them over there? I mean, seriously. My gosh, man.
Oh, but it gets better.
Oh, Lord.
During this time of mourning, King made an announcement to the staff. Let's check out these 2 videos. We'll see you in 2 and 2.
So the new king is making all of his old staff redundant, and all I want to know is, can they even take him to employment tribunal? Well, the answer is it's complicated. Let's have a quick look. Around 100 staff of King Charles have been notified that they are at risk for redundancy, which is the first and correct step for a legal redundancy in the UK. So why am I wondering if he is above the law? Well, because his mum was, and now he will be too. It turns out there has been a number of laws that the royal household have asked for a special exemption from. Now, there are 2 key laws that employees get most of their rights from on a day-to-day basis. There is the Employment Rights Act, and then there is the Equality Act. Let's have a look and see if they're exempt. The Guardian has a full list of the laws we know the royal household is exempted from, and the Employment Rights Act is not on the list, and that would be the law that applies to the staff being made redundant. So that means if for some reason the royal household did not follow the law when it came to those redundancies, they would, in theory, be then open to an employment tribunal claim. But what about the other law? The Equality Act is on the list of exemptions. So anybody employed by the royal household does not have any protections against discrimination on the basis of their protected characteristics. That includes a disability, their race, their gender, pregnancy and maternity. That includes things like harassment, victimization. There is a huge amount of laws that the royal household just aren't being held accountable to. Then I got curious about some of the tools that employees typically use to collect evidence from their employers. Is the royal household held to the GDPR? Couldn't find a definitive answer on this, but according to this job listing where they mention that as one of the requirements, it looks like they might be required to comply with the GDPR. However, the royal household is exempt from the Freedom of Information Act, and so you cannot make a Freedom of Information request to them. So the final tally is Equality Act, no. The Employment Rights Act, yes. Freedom of Information, no. GDPR, a qualified yes. Either way, not great that employees in some parts of the country have fewer rights than others just because they work for the Crown.
King Charles's staff told during mourning they could lose jobs as he leaves Clarence House, where he lived as the heir to the throne. Some of the employees worked there for decades. They include personal servants such as footmen, valets, dressers and cooks, as well as clerical staff. The Public and Commercial Services Union condemned the decision to announce redundancies during the mourning period as heartless.
Instead of moving his brother, who he reinstated everything that Queen Elizabeth stripped his brother of, into that residence and keeping the staff on, this is what he's choosing to do. Now, let's look at this logically and look at why he's doing this. The royals are running out of money. There is not enough money to sustain the royal family. And you have to realize most of their money comes from duchies. So that's why the king, the prince, they also have duke and duchess titles and things like that. That's where their money comes from, but it is not infinite. Charles also wants to reduce who would be viewed as a royal. Everybody that is in their family is not viewed as a royal currently, but he wants to really slim it down for the sake of money. Charles is not going to give up having his shoelaces ironed and his bed sheets ironed and having someone go to the trash bin and pick up something from him that he accidentally knocked into it. He's not going to give that up. But will he throw his family under the bus for it? Yes. Additionally, Charles is going to have to beef up the legal side of the monarchy because Charles has very strong political opinions, and Charles wants to, it is said, there's a little scuttlebutt regarding that. He wants the monarchy to get more involved in the government and politics as they were, say, 72 years ago at the beginning of his mother's reign. Because the House of Windsor is a constitutional monarch, which means they can make decisions. They just cannot make them solely on their own. It's as much of a figurehead position as the president of the United States.
Didn't it used to be the House of Saxe-Coburg?
The royal family?
I mean, just the title of Windsor.
It's been Windsor since Queen Elizabeth's father. She kept the House of Windsor when she married Philip. Philip was upset because he thought that it would become the House of Mountbottom, which was his mother's maiden name, because his original last name was a mouthful and it was not cute. But no, and he was famously quoted as saying he is the only man in England that cannot give his children the last name. Now, 2 of his grandchildren that do not carry titles, their last names were changed to his. And speaking of British history, for those that still don't understand why so many people are anti-royal, take a gander at these 2 videos.
Since we're having fun calling out the Queen for being problematic, let's talk about one of her more problematic relatives. No, not him. No, not him either. There we go. Princess Michael of Kent. Princess Michael of Kent, seen here looking like a Bond villain, has been described as the most controversial royal in the family. She's called Princess Michael because she's married to this guy, Queen Elizabeth's cousin, Prince Michael of Kent. Much like Philip, Princess Michael is from a German noble family, and also like Princess Philip, her family, full of Yahtzees. Like, she was born in Germany during World War II, and her dad was a member of the SS. But the bigger problem is that Princess Michael has a history of being super racist. In 2004, she got in trouble for telling some non-white diners at a restaurant in New York to go back to the colonies. She also defended Prince Harry's decision to dress up like a Yahtzee for Halloween the next year. And she apparently owns a pair of black sheep named Venus and Serena. Ah, the quiet dignity and grace of the British royalty. You want to talk about the Duke of Windsor? Let's talk about the Duke of Windsor. The Duke of Windsor used to be Edward VIII, but he abdicated after only a few months in 1936 so that he could marry this woman, Wallis Simpson. And a few months after abdicating, he and Wallis took an official state trip to Germany. Like, do I need to spell out why this is bad? Do I need to explain who he was meeting with? Here's him inspecting the SS. Not pictured, him touring a concentration camp. It's widely believed that Churchill made the Duke the governor of the Bahamas in 1940 to keep him out of European politics during the war, which turned out to be a really good idea. Some of the information that Germany used to plan the invasion of France was information they had gained from the Duke after his own inspection of French forces in 1940. He even advocated for the German bombing of Britain in the hopes that it would force them to sue for peace. There was even a German plan to install Edward as a puppet king if they ever managed to beat the British. I mean, there's no such thing as ethical royalty, but this is some next level shit.
So yeah.
So update. Yeah, so it was called the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, and then they changed it to Windsor. Because Victoria's husband was Saxe-Coburg. That was his princely title. I was like, my brain.
Yeah, it's been that way since Elizabeth's father.
Yeah, so they had changed that. Oh God. And geez, 1917, girl, the shade.
And they wanted to keep it Windsor after Elizabeth got married, even though they didn't originally agree with the marriage because Philip was a prince with no land. No quotation marks. It's quite noted. And all the diarists noted it also. He was very public about it. That's why none of his sisters could be Philip's sisters. Well, one was deceased by the time he got married. She died giving birth on a plane that crashed. But that's why his sisters couldn't attend the wedding because they were all married to gentlemen from Germany at the time.
Boy.
But if you're thinking about visiting the UK this weekend, if you can get a flight that lands, you might want to know a little bit about this.
I'm in the UK, and here are the things that are all closed either this weekend or specifically Monday for the Queen's funeral. Get ready, it's a long list. For one, any funerals that were already scheduled for Monday have to be postponed because nobody else is allowed to be buried on the same day. Thousands of hospital appointments and doctor visits, including hip and knee replacements, maternity checks, and chemotherapy appointments have been canceled or postponed from Monday. A resort company is literally closing and told its guests to spend the night elsewhere. McDonald's is closed. I ain't never seen McDonald's close in my life, but McDonald's gonna be closed. Fashion Week is closed. There's just no shows allowed to happen on Monday. It's supposed to be Friday to Tuesday. Nope, Monday just isn't allowed to happen anymore. This weekend is like the period of mourning. Also, no Fashion Week parties are allowed to happen this weekend, and no like store openings are allowed to happen this weekend. Nothing that isn't directly a show. Both Burberry and Raf Simons have also canceled their shows that were set to take place this weekend. Most of the grocery stores are going to be closed Monday. Even Amazon won't be delivering. All schools will be closed. Retail stores, Selfridges, Liberty, Primark, and others are all going to be closed. Multiple food banks are going to be closed on Monday, so people won't even have access to those. There are also multiple road closures, multiple tube closures, so it's literally causing a whole frenzy in the center of the city. Gas stations are even closing. Members of the public are able to go walk past the casket, but the gag is the line starts 3 miles away. That's just where it starts. The line can go up to 10 miles away, and British officials have said that they won't be turning people away unless the line reaches past 10 miles. Imagine waiting 10 miles. Couldn't be me. But of course, the good old Brits, most pubs are staying open. They're gonna let the people drink their sorrows away, that's for sure. Now, this is no disrespect to the Brits. Like, this is my second home. I love it here. But this is just so mad to me, like, as a foreigner witnessing this and being here, like, funerals all being moved and hospitals being closed and food banks and, like, I expected the roads, but, you know, literally everything else, every other business is just going to be closed, except for pubs. Like, pubs are the main exception. What do y'all think about this? Drop a comment and let me know.
I wrote "Not My King" because, of course, I was told yesterday by the police that I wasn't allowed to write that, and if I did, I'd be arrested. And now it's great to be able to do that and to stand here peacefully expressing my opinion and exercising a very ancient British right that I think we're all entitled to. We're at the political centre of power where the king came yesterday to say that he's the new king and we're his subjects. And we're here to say, actually, we disagree. We politely and very respectfully disagree with you. You're not my king.
It's funny. Now that the shoe is on the other foot and the rabbit has the gun, now we want to be all upset. I'm not saying that they weren't before. That there weren't signs or that they weren't marching or that they weren't saying, down with the monarchy and everything. But it seems like now that the longest reigning monarch that was in that country is now not there. Now they're going to be like, okay, now we can amp this up. It's like, why didn't you amp it up while she was there?
No, the media is now able to cover it. They've been doing it. Their current prime minister is anti-royal. She's been at the head of trying to dismantle and get rid of the monarchy for years. It's just now they're getting coverage because you have to realize the queen has had a hand in the media since the inception of her reign. That's why like brown people are like, you could have protected Meghan. You protected your son and wouldn't let them write certain things in the newspaper about him. Now that she's gone, Charles hasn't gotten that relationship yet. Charles doesn't know to, call the people and to tell the people not to do certain stuff. That's why we're seeing dissension since her death. It's always been there. It's just like when people in the UK are like, they weren't killing black people before, you're just making a big deal out of it now. No, it's now everybody essentially has a camera in their hand, and now you can see it. It's always been there. It just wasn't always televised. But speaking of Charles, y'all gonna love this one. Take a look at this, and then I got an article right afterwards.
I believe I am Charles and Camilla's son. I believe this has been a cover-up.
A royal love child?
Yes.
Words to send shivers down the spines of the British royal family. Simon Durante Day's 40-year search for his birth parents, leading him to the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall. There's no mistake?
Well, it's possible. I mean, I've entered into all this with the possibility that I could be wrong. Yeah, I've thought about that and how am I going to look in front of the world with egg all over my face that I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
This story begins in April 1966. England is in the grip of Beatlemania, and in this military hospital in Gosport in southern England, the Royal Hospital Haslar, a baby boy is born, and a mystery begins.
What age were you adopted out?
18 months, I'm told. I was adopted out.
So where were you for the first 18 months?
I don't know. There's not been any documentation or evidence come forward to state that. I don't even know if 18 months is true, because that's what I've been told, mainly through my adoptive family.
Baby Simon was adopted by Karen and David Day, a well-known Portsmouth family. Karen worked as a hairdresser, David drove trucks. They had no royal connections, but others in the family did.
My mother's grandparents worked for the royal family. Nana was a cook and Dada was a gardener. That's where they met.
Do you believe you were deliberately placed with that family because of the royal connection?
I think that's a possibility, and it's a fair comment to make. It's in England they would say, yeah, that's what the royals do.
As he grew, Simon claims his grandparents dropped hints he was more than he believed, hints about his real parents, until near her death, when his grandmother Winifred dropped a bombshell.
The last time I saw her before she passed was in the hospital in Portsmouth, and there was a newspaper on the bed and it had a picture of Charles and Camilla on it. And I said to her, is it these two? And I pointed to them and she said, yeah.
But she confessed even more that day.
And she said, we were always worried that we couldn't protect you, that at some stage the truth would get out. So that's as close as I've got to anybody else saying that it is Charles and Camilla.
Camilla would have been 18 at the time, the Prince of Wales just 17. Prince Charles was in fact sent to Australia in 1966 to Timbertop in Victoria.
Camilla would have conceived me sometime in 1965 after a coming out ceremony, or coming out...
Her debutante ball.
Debutante ball. She then promptly disappears off the social scene.
Do you think you look like Camilla or Charles?
Yeah, I can certainly... the Shan features are there. Camilla's brother, Mark Shan, looks strongly like me.
Simon says his adopted mother refused to talk about his real mum, whether she was royal or not, and his search for the truth has been difficult.
I've still yet to see an original birth certificate. I have not seen any. All I've got is an adoption certificate.
Who does the British government say your biological mother is?
They say that there's a lady called Sandra Pender.
But Simon never found a shred of evidence this woman even existed.
If you're right, do you want to be king?
At the moment, I'm still focusing on stage one of this, which is the DNA test. I see it's the only way that this will be resolved.
I think legally it's out of the question for any court in Britain to order DNA samples to be taken from any member of the royal family on a legal basis. So it just won't happen.
Foreign correspondent for the London Sun, Frank Thorne, believes Simon's quest is over before it begins.
Simon's not the first person to claim to be an illegitimate member of the British royal family, and I'm sure he won't be the last.
Simon and his wife Elviana are determined to fight on. They've written to Prince Charles, but not received a reply yet. All he wants to do is find his real parents to end his 40-year search.
The truth. Is it or isn't it? If it's not, well, then I've got to move on and find out who it is. It's not the driving force for me. The driving force for me is my parents. I want to meet my parents, I for obvious reasons.
And coming from the TimesNowNews.com, man who claims to be man who claims to be King Charles III and Camilla's secret love child shares update on DNA paternity test. Simon Durante Day, who claims to be the secret love child of now King Charles III and Camilla, has now revealed details of DNA paternity tests. He had created waves on social media previously with his claims, which he said were the outcome of decades of research. Expectedly, he was inundated with calls from media houses after Queen Elizabeth II's passing on September 8th. Simon Durante Day may not be a well-known name and face like Queen Elizabeth II, now King Charles, or Camilla, but for years he's been attracting headlines around the world for his bombshell claims about King Charles III. Durante Day, who claims to be the secret love child of Prince Charles III and Camilla, has now revealed details of his DNA paternity test. He had created waves on social media previously with his claims, which he said were the outcome of decades of research. Expectedly, he was inundated with calls. I don't know why that repeated. Recently, he sat down with 7 News to share some new updates about his royal paternity case. The 56-year-old said that he is considering legal action against the royals and is now ready to take King Charles III to court for DNA testing. In short, the new development is that Durante Day has discussed the legalities of the paternity case with senior legal figures to bring action against King Charles III. There has been a discussion in there between a judge and myself and his barrister about the legal standing of Charles and whether the monarch is protected by the law or is above the law, Durante Day told the news outlet. And the answer to that was no. They told me we don't see any reason why he is, and secondly, Camilla and her family are certainly not above the law. So that argument's already been had and settled, he said. The 56-year-old added that his case hasn't crumbled or slowed down despite Charles's rise to the monarch. It makes no difference to me whether the mountain in front of me is male or female. It makes no difference to me how high that mountain is, said Durante Day. Earlier this year, Durante Day had alleged that he had written a letter to Queen Elizabeth II asking her to encourage her son to participate in DNA testing. However, the letter didn't receive any response. So, looking like King Charles III is about to have a Medea Dana moment.
At this particular moment, sir, you got nothing to lose. If it is, he doesn't want anything from you. He doesn't want anything from you or his mother. If she is his mother, allegedly. I keep forgetting.
He just wants to know who his family is.
That's it. He doesn't want to come to the family picnics. He doesn't want to do anything with y'all. He just wants to know who you are. That's it. Ain't no bare bones about it. Oh,
and to find out that this man has been writing the royals, having these questions for decades, and like I explained to you previously, because of Queen Elizabeth, so much stuff has been hidden, and now it's coming to the forefront. But just like hidden things, let's come back over here on this side of the pond. We have been saying, and by we, I mean members of the BIPOC community,
of course,
that cops are full of shit, and they really truly believe that they are above the law. Now we got it in 4K. Take a look.
This Federal Way officer was suspended for 1 shift after posting this video.
PSA to everyone out there. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm probably speaking for a large majority of other officers out there. If we're driving on the freeway in our police car, get the out of the way. Get the out of the way. If you merge and we follow behind you and we merge too, you're probably in trouble. Best way to find that out is get the out of the way. I can go 90 miles an hour. You can't. You can't do that. So get the out of the way. If us officers stay behind you long enough, we can find a reason to pull you over. So you might as well get the out of the way. Super simple. That's all. You're welcome.
Federal Way Officer Brianna Strauss got just 10 hours suspension without pay after the investigation. The department determined Strauss violated the FWPD's code of conduct in 2 areas of social media conduct and personal conduct, but found no previous disciplinary issues.
Brianna Strauss, a Washington police officer with less than a year on the job, posted a video to TikTok bragging that she is above the law. She also bragged that she would not hesitate to use her authority on citizens not showing her instant respect, like not moving out of her way when she pulls up behind someone on the freeway. Then she bragged that she can drive 90 miles an hour on the freeway and pretty much get away with it. And if we don't move out of her way when she pulls up behind us driving 90 miles an hour, well, she said we can find a reason to pull you over.
I can go 90 miles an hour. You can't. You can't do that. So get the out of the way. If us officers stay behind you long enough, we can find a reason to pull you over. So you might as well get the out of the way.
She ended up suspended for 10 hours without pay, which is a single shift in a 4-day work week. Read the full story on pinnacnews.com.
When we say that they will find reasons to criminalize us, she just admitted to it. If you don't get out of our way soon enough, we can find a reason to pull you over.
And this is what irritates me, because I'm just like, for the most part, you're literally admitting to us that if we're just in your way too long, now we're causing a problem when we're just existing. Because, like, okay, a couple of weeks ago, there were cops down at the bottom end of my street, going this way, because I'm at the backside of my house. So down at the other end of my street. So I'm just walking, literally just walking. Got my music playing, so you know me, I got my headphones in. I'm trying to drown other people out, still keep my surroundings in my peripheral, but I'm not trying to listen to nobody. And I see the police car, and I don't think anything of it. I'm still, again, walking. But I see the car, which was facing this direction, then take a different turn. I'm guessing to see what I'm doing. And again, I'm just walking. Is there something wrong with me just walking across the street or walking on the sidewalk? Because I didn't know there was a new law preventing me from walking across the sidewalk, that I got to walk in the street like a bum. That's why sidewalks were created here, folks. So that you don't get hit walking in the street. But I'm just like, why did you turn your car to the side so that you can see what I'm doing? I'm confused. And, it's just bad that anytime at all I walk past a cop car, I feel I have to straighten up, make sure all my hands and limbs are visible, make sure I don't have a hood on my head so that they don't think I'm doing something nefarious.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just a few bad apples.
Whatever. If one apple spoils in the bag, look how quickly the rest of them spoil.
Sure enough.
They're not viable. But to close out, from one paternity test to the next, here we go.
Did you know that QAnon-believing Representative Lauren Boebert also believes that pro wrestler Stan Lane is her father? And she believes that because that's been Lauren's mom's story for the entirety of her life. You see, in 1990, Lauren's about to turn 4 years old, and there's a Florida law that says you have to establish who the father of your child is before your kid turns 4 if you're ever going to see any child support. So Lauren's mom points out the only person she knows of who has any money, and that's her first cousin, pro wrestler, Stan Lane. Despite a DNA test proving that Stan Lane is not Lauren's father, that hasn't stopped Lauren's mom from harassing Stan Lane for the last 35 years. In a 2013 Facebook post, we have Lauren's mom saying, "Will Stan Lane be there? Perhaps he can introduce his 26-year-old daughter, Lauren Boebert, who he has refused to acknowledge all these years." But there's over 10 years worth of both Lauren and her mom harassing Stan, sometimes on fake accounts. Anyway, that's where this woman comes from.
Did you catch that is her mother's first cousin? But did you catch that is her mother's first cousin?
I got it.
They're publicly stating, even after DNA results say it, he's not the father. For it to come to having to get DNA testing done with your first cousin, the hell is who is she inbred with? How much you want to bet her granddaddy is also her daddy?
Oh no, I was just raising my hand. I'm betting with you. I'm betting with you, baby, because I'm just like, sir, madam, thing. I'm
So
sorry.
my question is, who is the man that she refers to as her father that was in the bowling alley that infamous night where her then future husband exposed his wing wang to underage people in the bowling alley? Who that? Papa, who that man?
Papa, who this woman? Papa.
Because if somebody has stepped in to take that role,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been proven you will have no relation to someone else, why are you harassing this person?
And consistently harassing them.
And yes, he's a professional wrestler, but he is not a famous wrestler. He's not pulling down money like Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, The Rock. None of that.
Not even The Rock's father. Sheesh.
That's not the. So this is not a paper chase. Like what is this? And I'm sorry. If it came to something like this where it is blatantly obvious my mother has lied to me about who my father is,
I would be more concerned about why my mother is lying to me.
especially when you're telling me that my father is my cousin.
Let me just ask you this, Ms. Boebert. Maybe you can answer this. Or maybe one of your minions can get this to you. Why would you want your cousin to be your father? How does that make sense in your world? You being a quote-unquote uber Christian nationalist. That's not views, darling. That's an abomination. And it's been proven by the royals countless times over and over again. It doesn't work.
Yeah, that's why they're currently calling King Charles III the Sandwich King.
Do you see them sausage fingers he got?
That's not why. They call him the Sandwich King because he's inbred.
Oh, that too. Them ham hock sandwich fingers. I know I got big hands too, but mine ain't thick like that.
No, he's swollen. His hands are swollen.
Yeah, those hands are swole.
And given the rules regarding meals and dinner and dining with the royals, I don't understand how he's in such poor health.
My only thing is if that's the problem, why haven't you gone to the doctor to go get that checked out? Why haven't diuretics been issued? Because if that's a water retention shenanigans, you might want to get that checked.
Probably because he fired the person that's supposed to hold his water glass up to his lips.
Stop making me snort on camera. Stop it. But girl.
What's your final thoughts on the night?
One, I hope all my black people who have not seen the movie tonight, The Woman King, please go and represent tomorrow and the rest of this weekend. Let's show them what we mean. when we say thank you for the representation, do not drop the ball. And we still have 2 other movies coming out in the next following months. We still need y'all participation for that too. Just saying, just throwing that out there.
Do not forget, I know that I said there would not be a show tomorrow. What's going to happen is, because I do have a few more topics that I have to clear out, I will just pre-record and it will still air at the same time. Just as always, I'll have the pre-recording banner on it. Just so you know, if you post a question, I will not be able to answer it in real time. Also, do not forget, link is in the bio, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday for the viewing party for the Count of Monte Cristo anime. Also, do not forget that 1, 2, 3, 4 of the squares on your Tazingo cards have been marked off. If you still are in need of a Tazingo bingo card, please message me on Instagram. Link also in the bio. I believe it's linked to this page as well, and I can get that out to you. As always, each one teach one, each one reach one. And like I told y'all all week, you know how I'm ending it.
We fight for Africa. We fight for our sisters. We are the spear of history. We fight for the future.
The Rhythm King, rated PG-13, in theaters Thursday.